Hello, fans and friends. Welcome back to the channel. I'm AstroKara, and I'm here with my good friend and fellow astrologer, Adrian Gibson of AstroKara and Astrology. And we're here to talk to you today about the Capricorn new moon that's coming up on January 18th for us here in the States, anyway. It's
Yes.
afternoon for me in the southwest of the US.
Yep.
And
And
I want to go ahead. Yes,
I
please.
was going to say here in on the East Coast, it's going to be at 2:51 p.m.
Yep, 12:51 p.m. for me in Arizona. Either way, wherever it's happening, that's the peak time. And of course, we're feeling the energies already now. We've been in some energies that we're going to be talking about this cardinal T square and this closing phase. I know a lot of astrologers have been talking about this for probably the past year. It's a big deal. Neptune is finally moving back into Aries on the 26th, and this is a 165-year closeout cycle within a greater cycle, but specifically with Neptune, we are ending its time in Pisces, ending its time for this cycle around the zodiac, and this is a big deal. So, yeah, do you want to mention what you think about what Neptune and Aries is going to be doing for us?
Oh, well,
I mean, we've got 14
I mean
years
on
of
the
it, so
20 on the 26th when it moves in, it's really the beginning of a new I'm looking at it as a new way to step into our spiritual reality of who we are, who this true sense of self. That's been covered over by layers and layers of conditioning. But really, I'm looking forward to Saturn and Neptune coming together on the 17th, is it? No, the 20th
20th of
of
February,
February.
yes. So Saturn will move in, I want to say early February, and then they'll actually make their conjunction on the 20th. And
Yeah.
yes, we've talked about that as a major seeding. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
Aries point, 0 degrees at the beginning of this is the tropical zodiac that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah. This
so
is
yeah, it sets us up for a big big
a
change.
big new cycle. I mean, I've heard astrologers say it's like a 12,000 year cycle that's starting. And I mean, I've heard six and a half thousand years. And I mean, it's just a big cycle. These two planets don't come together at the 0 degrees of Aries point really ever.
Yeah,
It.
it's a pretty
I've
rare thing.
heard
One
it
thing we'll
called.
we'll only see it in our lifetime this time.
Oh yeah. I mean, and lots of people don't see it in their lifetime. Like
Yes.
lots of generations. It just is. What I heard was once in humanity
Mm.
shift. So it's kind of
And if we're
interesting.
closing out the Kali Yuga, this is another big
Yeah.
cycle that for humanity that we are stepping into something new. It's a big deal. And the
Yeah.
things I think that we are feeling, or what I've been feeling, what I've been seeing, we're feeling the pressure. And the pressure is here. And this to me is speaks a lot to the Capricorn stellium, and we'll get to the chart in a moment. But all the pressure is here to help us let go.
It really is. It
There's a
really is.
lot that we need to let go of, right? And it's a
Yeah.
bittersweet, it's a bitter experience. The experience of disillusionment is bitter, but it can be
Yeah.
sweet on the other side.
Yes. It will be sweet on the other side. but, but
Liberation
yeah.
comes, when we can get to that acceptance point, because once we accept what is, that's when we can begin to make
Well,
changes.
exactly. It's hard to let go, especially when you don't know what's on the other side of you letting go. Like it's like walking off a cliff. Like what's going to happen?
Like
You
the
know,
fool in the tarot, it's
like the
the
fool in the
taking the leap of
tarot.
faith.
Take
it's
that, and
it's
that's
scary.
really
Yeah.
where we're at as far as like letting go. It is a leap of faith because we don't. But I think what it feels like to me is like it's so raw on the outside right now. Like almost can't do anything but let go. Like you have to breathe through all of the stuff that's happening and just I keep telling myself just a little bit longer.
I know. And what it's bringing us back to, and we were talking a little bit beforehand, what are we getting set up for? How can we go into this with a better sense of stability, because in the fog, in the craziness, in the unknown, there's so much uncertainty, there's so much, feelings of anxiety and insecurity. What do we do with all of that? How do we, move into that? So part of what I feel, and this is part of my work, is helping people build self-trust.
Yeah.
When we can learn to trust ourselves and regain that sense of agency, authority, then we can go into the unknown and know that we're going to have all these feelings. We're going to feel insecure. We're going to feel anxious, but I'm going to be able to handle it. I've got the tools. I've got the resources. I know that I'm going to be able to manage the things that come my way.
Yeah.
And so I first want to say happy solar return to Adrienne, because she's having her birthday on the 19th. So all of this Capricorn energy is activating her sun. I also have a Capricorn moon. So we carry these Capricorn energies. So I thought it was really great that we could come together today to talk about this
Yeah, right.
Capricorn new moon. So I'm going to
Yeah.
pull up the chart, and then I'll let you get started if you want to talk about wherever you want to jump in. I hope you can see it. You can see it okay, right, Adrienne?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Do we want to
Well,
start with
first,
Capricorn?
yeah, let's start. I just look at that giant stellium
Look
there.
at all of this hanging
Look
out
at
right
that.
there.
4 planets at the end, the last 4 degrees of Capricorn, and then 2 planets into Aquarius, but they're all connected in one giant stellium. Um, and so that's just a lot of planets in one place. And it's all the inner planets and the most external planet. So and everything but the sun is closing. So we're having a closing cycle, essentially, and to Pluto, which is like the bottom line of where we're at. We're all trying to individuate from the place that we've been before. We're moving out of a structure that is, Pluto went through Capricorn, has been out of Capricorn for a year, and we're into Aquarius because that structure was not beneficial for humanity anymore. So while we're still seeing the dissolution of that structure, it's still here. It's a mess. It looks like a mess. It feels like a mess. Um, but ultimately, the goal is to break free from those limitations that we've had. And the opposition point, polarity point of Pluto is Leo, is to really step into the heart, step into our true sense of self, into our authenticity. Um, we're have been for quite some time working through changing these external um, conditionings that have really kept us away from our true selves. And we'll talk more about that because there's still planets that are, talking about just stepping into this role of the true self. But the Capricorn stellium there, we've got Mercury and Mars closing to the new moon. And the way that I see that is that there is a mindset, Mercury, a way of thinking, a way of communicating, the way that we perceive our reality that's linked to this emotional structure that we've carried, and the actions also that go along with that way of thinking and communicating is closing to the sun and the moon. So we're beginning a new cycle of really taking control of our own sense of emotions, our emotional control, our emotional authenticity, and the ability to step into the beginning of being responsible for our emotional well-being and our emotional selves, because we're not going to be able to go into the future in Aquarius if we're still hung up on that old emotional stuff. We can't take it through the doorway with us.
Yeah, we got to drop that bag of rocks, right?
Yeah, it's staying. So yeah, that's what I have to say about the opening of it all.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much. It's in what she was mentioning, just for the viewers, that that closing phase in evolutionary astrology, we look at the phases of the planets. And whenever planets are conjunct like this, they can either be considered in a new phase, meaning that we're starting something new, or a closing phase, balsamic phase, that they're ending. So Mars and Mercury being behind or on this side of the lunation, it's closing. And then Venus is making the new phase. And
Yes.
I love that you were talking about responsibility and, authenticity, agency, all these words that we've been talking about for a long time. I know both of us have been working with these, talking about Pluto and Aquarius and what it's bringing. Because as evolutionary astrologers, Pluto's our bottom line. It's the desire for evolution. And what's the desire in Aquarius? And we think about Aquarius energy as humanity, as the collective, right? But how do we exist as a collective in a harmonious way? Obviously, it doesn't look like that right now because we're still under a lot of old structures, as you were mentioning. So that authenticity piece, that moving into Leo, into our hearts, getting ourselves kind of figured out, if you will. It's not the easiest thing. I talk about it in simple terms, but it's certainly not, it's work to get to our authenticity. But once we can each be our own unique selves, understand our authenticity, then we can come together and work as a collective in a more harmonious way. So we
Yes.
talk about the age of Aquarius. It's not going to just all of a sudden appear. We really, all of us have to do the work to get to that place. So part of what I think this lunation is seeding for us is, as you mentioned, reclaiming that responsibility and accountability. Because so much of our conditioning has been related to the externalization of power. We talk about that a lot. It's easy to, I don't know if it's easy to, but this is the way it's been. We put our power we put our agency, we give over some of our freedoms, some of our, freedoms to be safe, to be protected, to have some external thing, such as an institution or a government, that will protect the people. And when that fails, as we have seen it failing, then what do? We can either blame the system, we can blame the external thing, or we can say, how do I take responsibility for my own self? And you mentioned that emotional piece of it. And I've been talking about this emotional container for a long time. I talk about this with my clients a lot, is creating that emotional container within ourselves. And to me, that speaks a lot to this T square. So I'm going to pause for a minute and see if you want to jump in, and then I'll talk about
Um, yeah. Uh, why don't you talk about the T-square? Because I want to go back and talk about the nodes, I
okay.
think, is where I really want to focus.
Yes, that sounds good. Because that's, I think, a piece that I hadn't focused on as much. So definitely would love to hear your thoughts on that. So for me, I'm looking at all of this Capricorn energy opposing Jupiter in Cancer, Jupiter retrograde in Cancer. And then these pieces right here, I'm going to just click on Chiron so you can see the squares. So all of this energy is in a square to Chiron and Aries, and then
Yeah.
it's opposing this Jupiter. And then Jupiter is also squaring Chiron. So when I talk about it being a cardinal T square, I'm just talking about the archetypes, our cardinal energies. This is Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. Cardinal energy wants to initiate. It wants to move. It wants to create change. It wants something, that's going to be moving us forward. But yet we're not quite in that time to be full force moving forward. We're still in a lot of yin energy. We're still in a lot of thought energy, Mercury opposing Jupiter. This is our left brain, right brain.
Yeah.
And it's about, coming together as we process mentally our emotions. And I think we were talking a little bit about this earlier, is that when we just rush forward, when we just try to move through life, I just got to get through this. I just got to, put the emotions aside. And sometimes this is Capricorn energy. I don't have time to think about how I'm feeling. Then it gets compressed, it gets suppressed, and eventually it comes out, right?
Yes, it does.
And so I think that's where a lot of it, we're feeling kind of like in this pressure cooker right now, where we have to really look at how are we feeling. And a lot of this is Chiron and Aries is bringing up our wound of agency, our wound of rejection, where we feel like we haven't been able to hold our own agency. And so the honesty piece, getting real honest with what our emotions are. And this is the Cancer Capricorn stuff. And how do I create a new structure for that? How do I create a new framework for that? How can I increase my capacity to hold my own emotions? And part of that, when I'm looking at this T square, I'm looking for, where's the medicine? And the piece that's missing is over here in Libra.
Yeah.
That's the part of the cardinal energy that's missing. Libra is our relating. It's our connectivity. It's how we connect to each other. It's how we get feedback. So sometimes we need that other person. We need our groups, or we need the feedback from our environment to kind of help us process all of this other stuff that's going on. And it comes with trust, right? Practice and trust. So I'll pause there, and we can come back to it. But yeah, I want to hear what you have to say about the
I
nodes.
mean, yeah, it's really, yeah. So as I was contemplating what all of this was looking like, I was like, it's very interesting that all four of those Capricornian planets are in the last decan of Capricorn, which is Virgo. And so I was like, okay, I see that we have some emotions that are within us that are linked to this south node that's in Virgo. Really, the only planet that is making, well, there's a couple of them, I guess. I think it's all of them. Well, cool. There you go. These
If that
four
helps to see
planets,
it.
yeah, it's linked to Virgo, and Virgo is this energy of imperfection. It's this energy. If Pisces is the whole, the oneness, the unity, then Virgo is where we separate out all of the parts. And you know, it was necessary for humanity to look at all the parts. This is how we take the things apart to see how they work. This is part of our learning and growing. And we've been doing it for who knows how long, the beginning of time to figure out. We've gotten into the very small nanotechnology now, just smaller and smaller and smaller pieces. But what happens is, and what I've seen is this energy of once we separate out of the parts, we determine, oh, these parts are better than these parts. And there's this hierarchy that develops. You can see that with like pharmaceuticals and plant medicine. We'll just take the most, what we deem the most important part of the plant, and we'll turn that into the medicine, whereas the rest of the plant isn't all getting used necessarily. So this energy of separation, when you put it into human terms, you have this feeling of lack, this feeling of I don't feel good enough, I don't measure up, and perhaps feelings of guilt. There's anger, there's frustration, there's all kinds of energies that are tied into this. And really, it's from, because the nodes are this energy of how we see ourselves. It's our self-image. It's the moon. It's the past moon and the future moon. So when we say the south node's in Virgo, we're saying that we have seen ourselves through this lens of Virgo, through this lens of lack. And in that, we try to measure up. I like to say that it's like trying to see ourselves the way the outside world would see us. So, we act in a way that we don't draw attention to ourselves, or we act so that we can fit in. And what happens is, over millennia of doing this, what we've like pushed parts of ourselves away. We try to be perfect and not true to ourselves, which is what that sesquiquadrate is to with Chiron, is that we want to confront that and really move toward that true self. But what I was noticing with this Capricorn stellium is that, particularly with Mercury, because Mercury is ruling the Virgo archetype, it's a mindset that we have been living with that is actually closing to this new moon. This mindset of lack, this mindset of hidden anger. You got Mars sitting there too. We're acting on that mindset. It's like a pressure cooker. I think you said earlier, we're sitting on a pressure cooker and we're seeing it bubble up here and there. I mean, there's earth changes and all kinds of things, but even just here in the United States, it's pretty volatile, I would say. These energies are closing. We're done seeing ourselves through this lens of separation. The North Node is in Pisces. It's time to come together and see ourselves as part of the whole, part of the Earth family, part of the universe family, part of however far it goes out. And um, like you were saying, we have to take charge of ourselves first. This is the part of the Aquarius. Yes, it's about the collective, but the collective is made up of all of us individuals. So we have to really heal this South Node energy. And I feel like that's what's happening with Mercury and Mars closing off. This emotional, uh, what is it? It's not limitation. It's just an emotional, parts of our emotional self have been pushed down. They've been pushed down. And if we are to take responsibility for our emotional behavior, how we act, how we receive ourselves, and how we express that into the world, this Mars and Mercury energy has to end, because those two things lead to a lot of reactivity. So we're looking at this energy of reactivity that's closing to where we take responsibility for our emotions. And we can no longer put these emotions outside of ourselves. We have to bring them in and manage them through, there's a tool bag full of stuff that we can be doing. So yeah, that's what I want to say about that.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, we were chatting about that a little bit beforehand about this idea of reactivity versus responsiveness. And I think we're seeing that, in on the world stage and especially in the States right now. And, you may be feeling it in your own life. I mean, I've been feeling it in my own personal life too, and you mentioned limitation. And I think Capricorn energy can feel that way sometimes.
Yeah,
It's meant to be the structure that we build within or build upon, but it can create a feeling of limitation. And then Aquarius comes along and helps us break out of that. I think Venus now in Aquarius is helping us to see where we have placed value on things that they no longer are holding up. They don't fit within the structure of what we're trying to build. And so it's about a new way of valuing ourselves. That's the Venus piece, in an innovative way, right? In Aquarius.
yeah,
And how can we then take that and create something new from that? Part of this reactivity, and I think it's really important what you said, we have to take accountability. And I think that we talk about that a lot. I think people just, I'm in the therapeutic realm, so I see it a lot, obviously, in therapy discussions and things like that. What does that even mean? What does that look like to actually take accountability? And I think one of the first things is we have to be curious, Mercury, about what we're feeling. And Jupiter in Cancer is bringing up these big emotions, right? And it's helping us to build our capacity. If
Yes.
we've never been taught how to hold our own emotions, which most of us haven't, we just
No.
experience them. We do whatever we do with them, whether we suppress them, whether we self-medicate, whether we, you know, project them outward, whatever it is that we do with
Yep.
them. We've never been taught to hold them and hold them with compassion, hold them with honesty. And so that's part of what we're working on learning. And like you said, there's a myriad of tools that we can use, therapy,
Mm-hmm.
building, there's plenty of things. Obviously, that's
Yep.
part of the work that I do. And I know that you do that with your clients as well in an
Yep.
astrological specific way. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's part of this trine to Uranus in
I was
Taurus.
going to say, yeah. It's
So
a
I'll let you
repeated
speak to
theme,
that.
isn't it?
What's that?
It's a repeated theme.
Oh,
Venus
absolutely.
in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus.
Some mutual reception going on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit into that trine,
Yeah. Well,
or did you have something else?
oh no, I'll talk about the trine. So yeah, Uranus has been making its way through Taurus for quite some time. It actually already has dipped into Gemini and now is retrograding back. I don't think it's going to go too much farther back before it
Mm,
goes direct again. Um, but it's like as we're breaking apart a value structure. We're breaking apart what we've valued because if we continue to value those things and we move on into the future, we're really just dragging that with us. And I think the Venus in Aquarius is also saying the same thing. We have to value ourselves differently. We have to value, um, we have to find another way to see what's valuable, another way to survive that is valuable to all of us, to the collective. Um, I think that one of the things that I notice in the world is that it has become that money, and which is linked to the Taurian archetype, has been more important in very many cases to the human lives that are even on the planet right now. And we want to and take resources, but just wipe out people. And we can't value this is not about survival for humanity. And when we're talking about Venus and Aquarius and Uranus and Taurus, this is what we're talking about. We can't survive at this level anymore. Um, yeah,
it's just not
it,
sustainable anymore, like
it's
you said. And
not sustainable.
that Uranus,
Exactly.
this is the last cycle of Uranus and Taurus for us for 84 years. So it's a long cycle as well. Once it moves out of Taurus, then we're in a whole different energy field. But
Yeah.
yes, I agree that this is about valuing ourselves differently, because that's, the level that I work on is personal,
Mhm.
but we see it globally as well. We have to begin to prioritize things differently, and whatever
Yes.
that's going to look like. We just know that the where we are doing things now is not going to be sustainable for the for humanity to move forward.
Yeah.
So I know that there's a lot of innovative thinkers out there. I know that they're coming up with some new things, and I'm quite certain that once Uranus gets moving in Gemini, we're going to see some pretty big new innovations coming. So I am
Oh,
looking forward to
absolutely.
that. But this
Yeah.
is, again, these are all of these closing cycles. And so to me, it's really about, and I thank you for sharing about the South Node, because that's important as well. That field that we're in and that we're coming from, and recognizing that we're not better or worse. That comparison trap is just, it's challenging, and it is a trap because it takes us out of our authenticity.
It does.
And so another part of this trine, we were talking earlier about, it's in a phase called disseminating. That's actually Sagittarius energy. So it's where we take the wisdom that we've learned and bring it out to others. And I think that that's what you and I do. This is what we're doing right now. We're taking our astrological knowledge and disseminating it to those who are watching. And I was thinking about this. How does that actually apply to a person? Like if we're talking about bringing out wisdom, how does that apply to an individual? And I was kind of struggling with this in my contemplating it. But to me, it's maybe if I'm thinking about my higher self or my more knowing self speaking to my past self or my present self going into the future, what might this look like? And it just feels to me, it feels very grounding when I think about all this earth energy that we're in, earth and water, that if we can create this new structure for ourselves, if we can be honest, as raw as we can possibly be. I think you mentioned Jupiter is moving into that, or it's in the Scorpio Deacon of Cancer.
Yeah.
So it's finding the deep level of truth and confronting. You use the word confront. There's some confrontation that we have to have within ourselves. What are my patterns? And is that sustainable for me? Not just as a collective. What's going to be sustainable for me? Where are my internal resources? Taurus, Venus. And then how do I create something moving forward? Because Capricorn is also about creating something over time. I use the word legacy. It's growth over time. It's nothing, it doesn't have to be forced. It doesn't want to be forced. Even though cardinal energy moves us forward, it's not something we can force. It does require a sense of patience. And I think that's just where we're at in this space. It's going to require some patience. It's going to require some reflection and self-honesty before we can get to that point of acceptance. Once we get to the point of accepting what is within ourselves, like you were mentioning a scenario, and you can share if you want, if you don't, it's okay. But I've had plenty myself where we see ourselves in a different lens. Like maybe we've reacted to something and then someone's brought something to our attention and it's like, oh, that was that pattern. That was the pattern that I've been in. And I see it now. And I don't want to continue that pattern. And that's what I feel like this energy is bringing us to. If we can tap into it, if we can pay attention to it, if we can feel into it, and then make some slow changes over time.
Absolutely. And the thing about energy is if you miss it the first time, it definitely going to come around again. You will get it. But that's exactly what happened. I had a situation where I saw a pattern of mine, a pattern that I do not want to bring into the future. And it popped up and I was like, whoa. And this is the Jupiter. It just got exposed. My inner world, my emotional world just got opened up, it expanded, and I exposed some patterns in myself that, with this opposition that are going to be integrated. So I've set up a little plan for myself. Every time now that I feel these emotions going to come up, I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop and breathe and take a couple of cleansing breaths and begin to think about some different possibilities as for what's happening instead of being so reactive and jumping to conclusion with the first thing that comes into my hot head, and then having a very calm and collected communication. And this is something we can all do. It takes time. Capricorn is time. This is the we're starting a whole new cycle of being responsible for our own emotions. It's a new cycle. We'll do this for a year, before it comes around again. And
Yeah,
I
and
do
like you
have,
said, it's going to come around again. And that's the
yeah,
thing. And that's the thing about patterns. That's the thing about, all of these
yeah,
opportunities that we have. They're going to keep coming up, especially our own karmic patterns that we have that we play out. I was thinking about
exactly.
this a little bit earlier too, that going back to the idea of limitation and breaking out of limitation, we think about breaking out of limitation, but sometimes we can't break certain limitations. Sometimes there are limitations that are there and we have to work within them. And this was what I was thinking about for myself. I have a chronic health issue that affects a lot of places in my life. I'm also a neurodivergent thinker living in a neurotypical world. So how do I manage that? Sometimes it's extremely frustrating and it's extremely disheartening, sometimes to me. And I get sad and I get I don't know what I want to say, disillusioned, apathetic, maybe a little bit,
Yeah,
and it's like, what are my choices? And here's where I was talking about choice earlier too. Do I let that become my identity? Or do I actually recognize, here's my limitations? How do I work within it and do the best and bloom the best and be the best that I can be within that structure? And I think that's a little bit about this, coming to that recognition in this energy as well, that we don't have to force through something just because we think we're supposed to be doing something else. And that's part of that South Node hierarchy, right? If I'm comparing that I'm less than, then I need to
yeah,
continue doing all of these things or somehow make myself something that I'm not. Sometimes
yeah,
it's not possible. And that's where I talk about that self-acceptance. And that's that Saturn and Neptune finishing up in Pisces and the North Node in Pisces, coming to that understanding that I'm perfectly imperfect the way that I am. And this is the
yeah,
life that I'm given, and I got to work with what I've got, right?
yeah. And there's a, with the North Node in Pisces, it's about, self-acceptance. And with self-acceptance comes acceptance of others. We, it's about self-love. It's about um, forgiveness. It's this energy. If you can imagine, if everybody were to adopt this energy, the world would be a very different place. And
And I think that's what we're working toward. I know
I
you
think
and
so.
I are absolutely working toward that. And I think that that's what we try to
Yeah,
encourage and provide for others, that, but it has to start within us, right? We've
it
talked
has to
about
start
that.
within us. Is exactly the truth.
Yeah. Bringing in that coherence into our own hearts, recognizing where we need to be compassionate to ourselves, forgiving to ourselves. And the more we do that, it just naturally will come out of us.
Yeah,
And I feel like, yeah,
absolutely.
that's where we're at. Yeah, I feel like that's where we're at.
Yep. I definitely where we're at. But we're ending this old cycle of external control and really stepping into this being able to learn to control our own emotional stuff. We tend to, when things go wrong, blame on the outside. Oh, well, it was because I woke up late or the alarm didn't go off, or, we've got a whole bunch of reasons for external control. And
Yeah, and we're humans are really good at justifying.
well,
You can
yeah,
justify just about anything.
exactly. But at some point, if, when the external control continues to dissolve away, if we don't take internal control, what's going to happen? We are, and I think this is the Saturn and Pisces. We're like really crystallizing a control, a structure in this dissolving space that everything is dissolving into.
Mm-hmm.
Because it won't be long that these two planets are going to be in Aries, and we're going to have an internal structure to be able to step forward into this Aries energy. The
Yeah, I
year of
love
the
it.
fire horse.
Yes, which starts in February as well. So it's like this is
Yep.
the final, final push. It's, as far as I remember, it starts right around
Yeah,
when
the
the
17th
conjunction happens.
actually it's on the eclipse.
Ah, yes, that's correct.
On
And
the
that's going to be
17th.
an
And
important
then
one.
3 days later, Saturn and Neptune come together in Aries.
Yeah. And I love the way that you use the word, the internal structure, because
Mm,
I have a visceral response to the word control. And I
yeah,
know what you mean by control. I know what you mean. You mean having a sense of agency over yourself and owning your shit, right? I mean, I know what you mean by that. But whenever I even use the word control sometimes, but when it comes out like that, it's like, ooh, because I don't want to be controlled and I don't want to have to hold myself to so much rigidity either. And
yeah,
so I think I just want to bring that out for people that might be listening, that it's not about a rigid sense of control. It's just about working within that space that you have created, the framework that you have created, and being accountable to yourself and
to
to
yourself.
others.
That's so important. You know, if I can't follow my own structure, I'm in trouble. Because, I mean, growing up as a kid, they had a hard time making me do anything. And if I can't make myself do stuff, then I'm just going to be lost. So, yeah, we have a certain amount of, agency of just the ability to master what we want to master. And it all takes time, and it's all about a repetitive behavior that automatically becomes who we are.
Mhm. I think about the saying, habits become,
Oh,
I'll have to think about it, but it's basically pattern habits become something and something becomes character. And then,
yeah,
the
yeah,
saying that I'm thinking about, but and
yeah,
that's true, because that's what you were saying. Like, this is what we do on repeat. These are our routines. This is,
yeah,
that South Node in Virgo is helping us to look at our routines, look at
for
our
sure.
patterns, and, see where they might need to change. And then I think I mentioned too, like, that part of the cardinal energy that's missing is that Libra energy.
Yeah.
When I think about shadow Libra, I think about passivity,
Mm,
because there are choices that we have, and we don't really want to make a choice because we don't like the options that we're given. And so we don't make a choice. But not making a choice is still a choice. Staying in
yep,
passivity is still a choice. So these are choice points. Squares are choice points that
yep.
we have opportunities to make these new choices, to do something different, to think something different, to respond differently.
Yes. Responsiveness. That's what I like about this responding, the ability to slow things down, take the time, think about things, chew on them, create a plan, and then make an action that's thought out instead of just reactive.
Yeah, I'm
Because
going to
we're
stop
seeing,
share for a minute because I want to,
okay,
I think, maybe end with that, because that's been my experience. Again, I live with a cardinal cross, so I have a lot of this energy, and of course the Capricorn energy. When it comes to, and you even mentioned this earlier too, about, it doesn't seem like there's a space between a thought and a reaction. It doesn't feel like there's really a space because it happens so quickly. And that is how a reaction occurs. But there really is. There's a brief space in between when a thought becomes a feeling to becoming a reaction.
yep,
And it's about practicing, and it does not come easy. I don't know anybody that I've worked with. It hasn't come easy for myself to practice that pause, to be in that space for a moment. And sometimes it's really just a matter of starting to recognize it. Ooh, like you said, you
there it
recognize
is.
that pattern and you're like, okay, okay. And then you created a
Yes,
plan, that structure for yourself. This is what I'm going to do next time.
yeah.
This is how I'm going to handle it next time. And I
And
think that that's a great way to,
Yeah,
offer to what people can maybe do if they're feeling this energy and experiencing it.
absolutely. And if you make a mistake, you have to have self-acceptance. We all make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. We just, self-love, forgive ourselves, and we try again the next time because it
There's
all
going to
keeps
be a
coming
next time.
around.
There's definitely going to be a next time. And I thank you so
Yeah.
much for bringing that up. I love that as well, because that is the important piece. And that's our North Node, right? Like you were saying earlier, that when we mess up, when we react, and then we're like, oh, I didn't do the thing I said I was going to do. If we continue to be, harsh on ourselves and that inner critic gets going, and then we start ruminating about all the ways that we failed, that's not helping us move forward. So
Nope.
that's where compassion is desperately needed. That's
Yeah, absolutely.
compassion.
And then once we give it to ourselves, it becomes easier to give it to other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is what I strive for.
Myself included.
Not always making it, but that's the direction.
And then I think that that's the Capricorn energy as well. It knows, and like you said, we talked about, it's time. It's creating something over time. It's not something that's going to happen immediately or that we have to expect it to be perfect.
No, just
It's
think
about that practice. And
it took us our whole lives to become who we are right now.
yeah, 5 decades of creation of the up to today for me. It's I'm not going to
Exactly.
fix something overnight. Yeah.
No, and that's fine. But
And
the
so I
universe
hope
is moving us along, though.
it is. And that's the part that I think you and I, we so relate to. And that's why we chose evolutionary astrology, because it is about the evolution. It is about the continued growth and the moving forward. So
Yeah,
we're doing our
absolutely.
part to hopefully move ourselves and move our communities and move humanity forward.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Do you have anything else to add?
No, I think we've done it. We're taking responsibility for ourselves when we move into the future, and I think that's just the bottom line of where we're going, so that we can individuate and find out who our true selves are. We're about to go on a journey of self-discovery,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and I'm
And I
excited.
think that's a good segue to say that that's the work that Adrienne and I do. So if you are on that journey of self discovery and you want to know more about it, specifically through your astrology, I'll put all the links in the description to get a hold
Yeah.
of Adrienne or to get a hold of me. If
Yep.
you'd like to work with either one of us, and we'd love to hear from you and be a part of your journey. I mean, I always am very appreciative when people choose to allow me to be part of their journey. So
Yeah, yeah, me too.
I
Yeah.
feel it's part of my sacred service, and I get something out of it too. But of course, I'm wanting to provide a service for my clients as well. But always a pleasure, Adrienne. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you next time. And we'll see everyone. And I'll give my classic sign off. Until next time, take care of you.